Hello, hi, hi, welcome to Brainwaves. I'm Jamie Adams. Ian, you here?
I am indeed here, Jamie. How you doing with everything that's going on? We're trapped inside here, trapped inside the Brainwaves HQ. Not going out unnecessarily. Have you seen Sam recently? By the way, has he left? He shouldn't have.
I'm doing okay. Thanks for asking. Sam, I saw him heading towards the cellar and the basement with a determined look on his face and muttering that he'll be back soon. So I heard some loud noises, a bang, and then some octarine light. So I don't know how long he's going to be.
He knows he's not allowed to leave through interdimensional portals as well as the front door, right?
Yeah, you might have to check that with him if and when he gets back.
Any word from Ian?
I got a WhatsApp from him earlier saying he was nearby, but considering the geometry of this place...
How's it going?
Hey! Hello!
Hey, Ian.
I've been trapped in a coffee machine this whole time.
Trapped in a coffee machine?
Yeah, weird around the coffee machine these days.
Was it tasty coffee?
It was good coffee.
Good.
Yep, a lake of good coffee.
Ooh, a lake of coffee.
I did get the chaps from Drawn to the Flame to have a look at the coffee machine at one point. They may have put some elder signs and that kind of thing around it, so it's possible.
Yeah, it does sound like them.
Yeah, it is indeed. Everything okay with you, though?
Yeah, all good. All good. Fired up. Too much coffee. All good.
Well, if you're fired up, you can take us from the top then. Let's do it.
This is Brainwaves episode 46, bringing you the best in board game and tabletop gaming news. These are the headlines for the week of the 13th of April 2020. Adam Koebel comes under fire in Far Verona incident. Co-founder of TSR, J Blume passes. And just coming across the news desk now, trading in Cool Mini or Not stock is suspended. All this and more on this week's Brainwaves.
Well, as always, folks, we are starting with the tough news at the top of the cast. Far Verona is a sci-fi RPG livestream on roleplay which has been recently cancelled, and its GM Adam Koebel is facing a raft of scorn over an incident that caused the RPG to be cancelled. Now, Adam Koebel is the creator of Dungeon World and general sort of online GM guru. And in the most recent episode of Far Verona, there featured a sexual assault in game that the characters and players had no idea was coming. It came as a complete surprise to everyone, and a lot of the players have objected strongly to the description of the incident and how it was played out in game, causing the RPG to be cancelled. Koebel has issued an apology saying they are going to implement better safety protocols down the line for all their shows, things like the X card, which we'll come to discuss in a second, and various other sort of protocols, and talking with the players up front about the things that will be included in the game, sort of a lines and veils kind of discussion, which is a good idea to have at the start of any RPG so you can discuss the sort of content that's going to be inside it. We'll link to several videos of people saying why they've stopped playing with Adam Koebel, why they cancelled, and you can make your own minds up about those things. But we'd like to chat a little bit about sort of like the apology that Adam Koebel gave. To me, feels a little bit like a non-apology. There's a lot of stuff in there about like putting in better safety protocols and that kind of thing. But first and foremost, for me, I've been GMing for like 2 decades. I have never, ever featured sexual assault in any game. And I don't really see the need for it at all. I mean, yeah, role-playing games can be used to discuss interesting topics and maybe difficult topics, but do you really have to go to that thing? What do you think about this, guys?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's just, if it's that specific type of game, then sure. But I don't see the necessity at all, basically.
Yeah. I mean, I've run, like, Blades in the Dark with, like, like, everyone's criminals, literal criminals, also sort of like violence and explosions and that kind of thing, but I've never ever gone down that path, and I don't really see the necessity to do so. There's some explanation of why it was included in some of the reactions to the incident, but one of the main reasons it's become such a thing in the community recently is that Adam Koebel is very much someone who would go after other creators for doing this kind of thing. He's very strong on sort of social responsibility for GMs and handling this kind of thing well in games. And I think one of the reasons there's been such a backlash and such a furor over it is that because he's that kind of person, and people are sort of wondering why he didn't sort of implement his own what's the word I'm looking for?
Safeguards?
Principles. principles, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, safeguards as well, but yeah, his own principles. What do you think, Jamie?
I think it's important to also make aware that not just, players were upset, but that the player to whom their character it actually happened to, which is Elspeth Eastman, she actually decided to leave the show, and posted up a video explaining her rationale why.
And we will link to that.
Yes, and the way she described it,
she describes it very much as coming sort of out of left field, and like she discussed with Adam before the show, like the potential future arc for her character, and she felt like she'd basically been ignored and not listened to, and it just sort of it was a horrible incident for her character to be subjected to, and she was really, really upset about it, understandably so. We'll link to all this in the show notes, folks. Do have a look at this, make up your own minds, and there's a lot of interesting tools out there now to talk about this stuff before games. Monte Cooke recently put out a thing that we linked to in a previous cast about sort of like little forms that players can fill out before a game to sort of say, I don't like this kind of thing, I don't want that kind of thing in the game, I'm okay with this. And just have that discussion with your players, have that discussion with yourself, have a think about what's going on in your game and why, and just make sure it's a safe space around the table for everyone. Jamie, you've got some sad news from the world of TSR.
Yes, I'm sorry to say. Brian J. Blume, the co-founder of TSR, which was the company that first published Dungeons & Dragons back in the early 70s, has died aged 70. Now, Blume founded TSR, which stands for Tactical Studies Rules, with Ernest Gary Gygax in the early 1970s, and published Gygax and Dave Arneson's Dungeons & Dragons first way back in 1974.
Never heard of it.
No, it's this wee niche thing, Blume was with the company actively until 1985, when himself and his brother Kevin both sold their shares to Lorraine Williams, who has a storied history, let's say, with TSR and the Dungeons & Dragons brand. But that's for another time. Now, Blume promoted D&D internationally, and with his brother Kevin, helped expand the company into producing toys, into producing miniatures, and other very similar outlets and new markets. It's a very sad moment, a great, someone who shaped the tabletop gaming hobby into the thing we know it today. So thoughts are with his family at this sad time. Have any of you ever played the original Dungeons & Dragons?
I've not. I've played quite a few. I've played a couple of sort of OSR kind of games, which are basically people writing new games that are like the Dungeons & Dragons they played.
Yeah.
But not necessarily like Dungeons & Dragons, if you see what I mean. It's Dungeons & Dragons as they remember it.
Yeah. I've not played the very, very original, like, completely, it's
the sort of white box. Yeah.
It's the chainmail stuff.
Yeah.
But my friend did run a game that was very similar to it, which was in the very beginning, if you were playing a wizard... Sorry, no, you weren't. Sorry, if you're playing an elf, you were playing a fighter wizard.
Yeah.
If you were playing a dwarf, you were a fighter. If you're a human, you were a fighter. If you're a wizard, you were a human.
The closest I've come is running a Swords and Wizardry campaign with using some of the random dungeon generation stuff out of Advanced Dungeons & Dragons First Edition.
I've played a lot of First Ed AD&D and Second Ed AD&D, and I love those games for their own things. Yeah. But I completely understand how it can be seen as very hampering in the eyes of, say, modern gamers. That in Second Ed and First Ed, actually, there are level caps depending on what race and class combinations you choose, and the original ones you can only be a wizard if you're human, or a human if you're a wizard, or whatever I'm trying to say.
Anyway, Before we get lost down a nostalgia hole of D&D, Ian, I believe you've got some breaking news that has just come across the desk.
I do. We found this literally 4 hours ago. Cool mini or not, stock trading has been suspended. It was suspended on April 1st after the company warned of audit issues. In this audit, 3 issues were identified. A distributor agreement with a transaction value of $1.5 million has been identified. Speculation around the internet is that this is to do with Asmodee, as that was the only distribution deal announced in 2019. Rationale and substance of the significant increase in the prepayment balances as of 31st of December. And the third issue, which is the most pressing, Other information required by the auditors for their audit procedures on certain audit issues included going concern. Now, that's quite a lot of jargon. Basically, the third issue is the largest, as it seems. It's an opinion given by auditors when it's believed the company might have a change in valuation of its assets because there's a risk it would no longer be a going concern. They did report a down year in 2018, but were profitable. 2 outside directors, including the chairman of the audit committee, resigned in early April after the stock trading. And finally, the upcoming Ankh Kickstarter, we reckon, is likely to be hit by this speculation.
Yeah, I had a wee read of the Reddit link you put in, Ian, and a lot of people were speculating that Ankh will take a hit. I mean, CMON were like a couple of hours after that announcement, or a couple of hours after ICV2 posted that, were still posting Ankh stuff on Kickstarter, and they're bound to. But yeah, it's not a great look, and at the moment it's all speculation, folks. We'll bring you more on that probably in the next cast once things are starting to shake out a little bit more.
Yeah, the audit report is extremely basic, and everything online seems to say there's more information coming soon.
Yeah, I would imagine. So we'll put that up on our Twitter and Facebook feeds as we get it as well, and we'll probably be talking about that next cast, I would imagine. Well, that's enough for the headlines for this week, I think, gents. We've got a lot of news to get on with, so let's go. Of course, the coronavirus continues to impact the board game hobby, but lots of companies are coming out with things you can do at home, putting out some of their games for free, and the community has been really coming together. If you look on our own site, we've got an isolation con list where we're trying to gather as much of this stuff together for things to do at home, things people are doing for free, or pay what you want, or just paid things to do. Give that a check out. And one of the things on there now is that Asmodee are launching some of their games for free print and play. The games so far on there are Double, Dixit, some of their Unlock games, which are like their escape room in a box kind of games.
I love Unlock.
Yeah, we've played a couple of those. They're pretty good. Combo Color, I don't know what that one is. Cortex and Timeline Classic. Timeline is the game of sort of like arranging stuff in the right order depending on when it was invented or came in a Star Wars timeline or that kind of thing.
Or when it's in chronological order.
In chronological order, yep. The CEO of Asmodee, Stéphane Carville, said, in these difficult times due to the worldwide COVID-19 crisis, we at Asmodee are happy to offer families a way to play together from the comfort and safety of their home. We hope that these free print and play games can offer some measure of relief, adventure and fun for everyone while staying safe at home. It's just nice to see a big company like that doing something, and like we said, there's a lot of little companies, small and big, just doing really cool things for the community, coming out with stuff, and check out what's happening as much as you can, because it's nice to support these companies. And if you do download these things and have fun with them, tell people about it as well, because like these companies they're still hurting despite doing this stuff. I'm sure some of these companies are still hurting, and it's really nice to tell other people about the games you're liking and give them a little bit of promotion.
I know that at the very least I have downloaded, before this happened, I downloaded one of the Unlock scenarios that they've put out and played it. And it was a nice wee kind of mini scenario which plays with a deck of cards that have numbers in them. And then it's really played with a companion app. Which is fun, but it can be incredibly frustrating. Like, I love these games, but I always have at least one issue with one of the puzzles per scenario I've found so far. But maybe that says more about me than just the game itself.
Yeah, and if you like puzzle games, you can watch me occasionally platforming and puzzling my way through a game called Lair of the Clockwork God. Every Wednesday around about 3 o'clock, I'm streaming that, and I'm an idiot, so you can come and laugh at how bad I am at puzzles.
It's been good to watch, actually.
While we're on Asmodee, they have recently hired Games Workshop Interactive Games Licensing Manager. Christian Dunn is their new Interactive Games Licensing Manager. He'll be developing interactive licensing deals for Asmodee's 250 games and IPs. That is some stable of games. Dunn spent nearly 20 years at Games Workshop, finishing off with 6 years handling interactive games licensing, so that's like Games Workshop computer games, effectively, and their apps. Dunn is Asmodee's second licensing hire from Games Workshop in the past 60 days. The other one was Andrew Thiem. He is now a licensing manager, primarily dealing with European licensing in publishing, collectibles, and other consumer product categories. Congratulations to both the new hires.
I mean, I have to say, if you look at a company that has really turned it around in the past couple of years in terms of engagement with the community and accessibility, I think Games Workshop, for all its many faults, is right up there for going, a change in management, right? Engagement online, multiple sites now.
They've done such a good job, yeah.
I've got such props for Games Workshop for doing that.
I was just wondering if this means they're going to be moving to a similar style of licensing to the current Games Workshop thing, which is basically the bigger and more important a studio is, the larger licensing deal they can get. And they've got all these games going out to tons and tons of studios, which I think is a really cool way of doing it, actually.
I wouldn't be surprised we're seeing a big rise in sort of board game apps. And I think, as we've talked about in the last cast, I think the digital side of board gaming and tabletop gaming is going to be huge come 2021. It's going to be propelled by the current climate and just more board game apps and more people putting games on Tabletop Simulator and Tabletopia or their own sites. I wouldn't be surprised to see Asmodee come out with its own digital platform, for instance. That might be a thing. Who knows what we'll see.
We've seen it happen, especially with Games Workshop. Previously they had very few companies that were allowed to make video games under their license. But now, in the last couple of years, we've seen take a much more, dare I say it, scattergun approach, as I've heard quoted before, we'll throw out a lot of licenses to a lot of companies, and see the ones that will make money. Obviously, we'll keep working with them. The ones that don't make a lot of money, well, they still give us a little bit of money.
Not to mention their book cartoon licenses. They're being a lot freer with the license, just pushing stuff out. They're pushing their GW property out there. Anyway, Ian, talking about other companies helping out the little guy, Gama has been up to some interesting things. Tell us all about it.
So, this is the news that Gama has launched a search and help site. Gama, the Game Manufacturers Association, has published a website to inform the gaming public about the status of gaming stores. Info such as whether the store is open or not and what services they offer, like gift cards, delivery, and shipments, etc., are all available on the website. There are 800 stores listed, or more than rather. Gama plans to support the locator through email to its 27,000 name Origins Game Fair consumer list and by the show's social media accounts. There's also a page with information on publisher programs to support retailers, with a lot of companies that are offering to share their online sales revenue with a retailer designated by the customer.
Yeah.
Final bit of news is that Origins has been moved to October.
Yeah, I really don't think that's going to happen.
That's the Origins Games Fair, yes. So that's gonna also impact the Origins Awards, which we mentioned last podcast.
And there's another something happening in October in the gaming calendar. I can't think of what it's called. Oh yeah, Essen.
And Tabletop Scotland.
And Tabletop Scotland potentially. I mean, I want to say that we'll get some of these events later in the year. Like, we'd love to go to Tabletop Scotland. We'd love to see it happen. But let's face it, like, this stuff's going to go on for months. And I would be unsurprised to see a lot of these things cancelled. I mean, let's face it, the Olympics has moved to 2021. Are you bigger than the Olympics? No.
No, but you don't get as much foot traffic as the Olympics. I don't want to, downgrade Tabletop Scotland or Essen. Don't get as much foot traffic as the flipping Olympics.
Yeah, but have you seen the halls at Essen? How cramped they get?
I haven't actually, and maybe once.
Yeah, I mean, I would want to go there, but just not in the middle of a global potential pandemic that'll be like having rolling lockdowns across the world for the next year. Anyway, that's all speculation. Jamie, talking about pandemics, there's been some news from the New York Times.
Oh, that's a seamless link right there.
I'm a professional.
A professional, yes. Funnily enough, you may have noticed there's a global pandemic going around, and board gamers have been jumping at the phrase pandemic and going, oh, isn't there a game published by Z-Man Games that's about a pandemic? What's it called? Oh yeah, Pandemic. Funnily enough, that's been having something of a resurgence in popularity and people talking about it. Now, Steve Kimball, who is the head of the studio at Z-Man Games, which is itself a subsidiary of Asmodee Games, Steve Kimball released a statement on the 28th of March regarding the COVID-19 pandemic and the pandemic series of games. Now, there has been some speculation online that the Season 3 of the phenomenally successful and popular Pandemic Legacy series was due to be announced shortly. But according to Steve Kimball, since the COVID-19 countermeasures encourage social distancing, we've had lots of gamers with pandemic on their mind reach out to us on social media, posting photos of playing games, tagging us, and asking specific questions about upcoming pandemic releases. Out of respect for those affected by the current situation, we are choosing to wait for a more appropriate time to share details, which I am absolutely agreeing with 100%. Yeah, it's absolutely fine.
That's a class act.
Yes. Steve Kimball also stated that Z-Man has chosen to donate to an organisation currently supporting COVID-19 relief. Unsure which one it is, but it is a very magnanimous gesture on his part. Again, he said, designer Matt Leacock once told me that the core premise of Pandemic was celebrating humanity's triumph over adversity, each game telling a unique tale of unsung heroes working tirelessly to overcome a critical challenge. In concert to this, Matt Leacock himself, the designer of Pandemic and the Forbidden series of games, Forbidden Island, Forbidden Desert, and Forbidden Skies, among others, has written an opinion piece in the New York Times entitled "No Single Player Can Win This Board Game. It's Called Pandemic," about his initial development of the game, his initial ideas, how he came up with it, and his thoughts on the game's current resurgence of popularity. Not that it dipped really, but nevertheless, it's heightened awareness in this current times. It is a very good read. I would urge you to watch it, and good on. Fair enough for Z-Man Games. I've got good props
for
to them.
Not trying to cash in on that. Yeah.
No. Also, fun enough, staying with Z-Man Games, their parent company is Asmodee, but they've also announced a game coming out free, print and play version, and that is a version of their now very successful game Love Letter. Love Letter, which was originally owned by AEG until the rights were bought in 2018. The version they've announced for print and play is called Love Letter Sender, which is the theme is dating in the modern world, but it uses the Renaissance-esque characters and art from Z-Man's 2019 version of Love Letter, which is quite nice to see. It's a little bit of a change, and it's continually updating. And it's not as if we've never seen a thematic rebranding of Love Letter. I mean, when AEG had the license, we had Batman Love Letter, The Hobbit Love Letter, Adventure Time Love Letter, and Loot Letter, which was Munchkin version of Love Letter. But yeah, moving away from AEG and Asmodee, I believe there's some news coming from Wizards of the Coast. Ian, Ian C, of course. I believe you have some info about that, maybe?
I do indeed. Wizards of the Coast have announced Game Store Relief. This is the news that at the end of March, Wizards of the Coast announced that they would reprint the Magic the Gathering Mystery Booster Set and allocate the boosters to WPN members' stores free of charge.
That is the Wizards Play Network, for anyone who's not familiar with it.
All money spent on the boosters would go to the store itself, which is just such a lovely move, actually. Wizards of the Coast have also allowed game stores to take admission fees of up to $10 for tournaments they run on Magic the Gathering Arena, which is their online Magic program. This program will run until at least June the 1st. This is great for those American stores that are still open. We don't know how it would have affected UK stores, as they have all mostly closed before this announcement was made. Additionally, Wizards of the Coast have pulled a card because it had Corona in the title.
Yeah, there was a card called Space Godzilla Death Corona, because the new set has basically got kaiju in it.
Yeah, Death Corona is just not a good card. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I would imagine they put that out way before they printed. Well, they made it like months and months ago, possibly years ago.
Yeah, the lead time on this must be genuinely years.
Yeah. But Jamie, I believe things are getting chilly in the world of Kickstarter.
Oh boy, it is getting positively glacial. Funnily enough, there's a Kickstarter that has, has recently come online from Isaac Childress. It is a sequel to the 2017 Goliath and current holder of the #1 spot on Board Game Geek. And that game is Gloomhaven. But the sequel is Frosthaven. Now that went live on the 31st of March, and let's say it has done pretty well. They asked for $500,000 for their funding, and at the time of recording, they have raised $7.03 million, which is about 5.64 million of your British pounds. Now, it made over $1 million in less than an hour, and currently has nearly 50,000 backers for it. Now, the pledge for the base game itself is $100. There is the bundle, which includes solo scenarios, removable stickers, and other things, is $145. And there is an all-in pledge, which includes the base game, the solo mode, the removable stickers, an organizer from Broken Token, and 60 metal coins for a cool $240. Now, that sounds like a lot, and it is. It's also worth noting, this does not include shipping costs or tax or VAT.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's shipping March 2021, by which time Britain will be Brexited, probably, maybe?
Let's not consider that right now,
And
because
who
we don't
knows
know
what
what's
that will
going to happen.
Who knows what that will do to trade and shipping and that sort of thing.
Impossible to predict.
But it's worth noting that Frosthaven has already streaked past Gloomhaven's second printing Kickstarter, which is about $4 million, and outstripped its original one as well. Now, it looks like it's going to enter maybe in the top 5 most successful board game Kickstarters of all time, but it has quite a contender to beat for the top spot, which is the winner of Box Most Likely to Beat Someone to Death With award, and that is Kingdom Death Monster, which raised over $12 million. So there are 21 days left to go at time of recording, so we'll see how well this does. I'm the only one who does not own or hasn't not played Gloomhaven in any capacity, so my question is to Ian C. What do you think?
Honestly, it makes sense. It is the best rated game on Board Game Geek. It has so much stuff, and it's genuinely a brilliant, solid game. I can see why it's made so much money. There's a lot of chat about people buying this game when they haven't completed the first game, and I think that's actually fair, because a lot of people, their board game time isn't limited by their cash, it's limited by their actual time that they can spend with friends, and if this is an upgrade, then that's going to make their time better.
Yeah.
Then again, I don't have $240 plus tax and VAT to spend on this. I bought my original copy secondhand off someone on the internet, so I'm not one of those people, and I will not be backing this, as much as I'd love it.
So I think that's, in lieu of any other news, we're going to pass over to Iain M. Ian, I believe you've got some crafts for us.
Hi everyone, and welcome to Being at Home Corner with Iain M. So this week we're going to talk about Tabletop Simulator, the PC program you can use to play board games online. And I've been playing games with Ian and Jamie. How are you doing, chaps?
I'm very okay, thank you.
What do you think of my new little studio here? It's great, isn't it?
It's
got some nice flowers over here. There's a dog here. We've got, of course, got a dog. And we'll be passing out badges, obviously, to people who phone in, Blue Peter style.
Aww.
Do you have a turtle in a box? I think that's a core component of Blue Peter.
Yeah, that is.
Did, but I got very hungry. Anyway, moving swiftly on. So if you're not familiar with Tabletop Simulator, it is a PC game. You can get it through various places online, but most people will probably be getting it through Steam, which is Valve's online PC game store. And you can use it to basically simulate the experience of a tabletop game. People use it for role-playing games, board games, and I've even seen people use it for sort of dexterity games and things like that, like Crokinole, because it has some inbuilt physics you can use for that kind of thing. It's a great little program that Jamie, Ian, and I have been using. We've been playing some games in it that we'll link to some of our streams and videos in the show notes. And to go about getting this, you need to sort of download Tabletop Simulator from Steam, and then you need to go to the Workshop tab in Steam, and you will find thousands and thousands and thousands of games in there. Once you found a game you want, all you need to do is subscribe to it, and then when you log in to Tabletop Simulator, you will find that it is in your list of games. So to subscribe to a game, when you hover over its little picture in the Workshop, you'll find a little plus icon in the bottom right hand corner. Click on that and it will just be in your list of games when you eventually get into Tabletop Simulator. How have you guys been finding using Tabletop Simulator? You got any tips and tricks for the folks at home?
I would say remember it is a physics engine first with a game simulator bolted on top of it afterwards. So there is going to be funny things that don't happen in real life, like dropping your cards off the table and they fall forever.
That is true. If it's done right, they will eventually fall back onto the board. But yes, so Tabletop Simulator it does sit in a weird territory where it's not a full computer game where everything is basically done for you. The computer game responds to your inputs and actions, but it is not a full-on board game where you can sort of physically interact with it either, obviously. So it does have a slightly weird bit in my brain, personally, where I have a slightly weird disconnect with it. But it's better than playing no games at all.
Yep.
And you will find that some of the mods, some of the games you can find in the workshop will be listed as scripted, which means that they have some degree of automation within the game. And there are some really good mods. We'll be doing some reviews and recommendations down the line of good mods you can be using. I've been playing quite a bit of the Arkham Horror living card game, which you all know I love.
Really, Ian, you've never mentioned it.
Just this wee thing I like. And there's a mod on there called Arkham Horror Super Complete Edition, which is very, very good and is indeed super complete. And there's all sorts of other mods on there. There's a Raiders of the North Sea one I linked on the other day, and Gloomhaven is on there. There's all of Gloomhaven is on there for basically the cost of Tabletop Simulator, which I think it's like £15 full price and is frequently on sale. On various sites like Good Old Games, Steam, there's various sites you can find download codes for it for not very much money at all. There are some DLC as well, sort of properly put together mods by companies who pay people to put them together for them. We haven't tried any of those yet, but I believe some of them... Oh, have you, Jamie? What have you tried?
I have bought 2 DLCs, and that is for Super Fight, which is a bit like in the same vein as Cards Against Humanity, but it's that age-old argument, my superhero can beat up your superhero. Well, let's put it down to, a hand of cards that, insert pop culture reference here has this power, and they're going to fight against insert this pop culture reference here and has this superpower, and everyone debates who will win. And I've also bought Tortuga 1667, which, I've gone on record before saying I flipping love.
I would love to play that. Yep.
Man, I am happy. I'm up for hosting a game of Tortuga 1667s at any point soon. Because, well, you know me, I really like it from Facade Games.
Well, you heard it here, folks. Thanks very much for the offer, Jamie. We'll all come round to your virtual house and play that soon.
I'm good with that, yeah.
Me too.
Plays up to 8 players. Come on, let's play a big...
Oh, fantastic.
Maybe a big 8, 8 players, maybe. Let's play a big player game. Similarly, I would love to play, a big 5 or 6 player game of Root, because I've only played 1/3 of a game, which Ian C was part of. We played 1/3 of a game with 4 of us, and I'm like, come on, I want to do more. I can't wait.
Well, we'll see if we can get that arranged. For next time on Ian's Gaming at Home, I'll show you how to cook meeples. Goodbye. Well, folks, before we get out of here, we'd just like to give a little shout out to our executive producers, the Lucky Sparrow Gaming Cafe. Check out their Facebook page and Twitter account for ways you can help them out under these difficult times.
Thank you very much for listening, everyone. If you enjoy what you've listened to, then the best way to help us is to share the podcast online and drop us a review and a rating on iTunes. Now, you can also follow us on Twitter. We're at The Giant Brain. On Instagram, Giant Brain UK. On Facebook, we are The Giant Brain. Our website is giantbrain.co.uk. And if you have any questions, queries, opinions, feedback, whatever you like, our email is giantbrainuk@gmail.com.
But wait, Jamie, there's more. We now have a Twitch stream. Oh, yes, we do. Yes,
do we?
We do indeed have a Twitch stream. You can come and watch us live on Twitch playing games. At the moment, we're still working out a schedule. I am playing Lair of the Clockwork God 3 p.m. on Wednesdays. I'm running Arkham Horror 8:15 on Thursdays. And we are generally playing some kind of tabletop simulator game on Sundays, around about 2 o'clock. We'll announce all those live on Twitter and the Facebook page. So do come along, give us a follow, and come and comment on the games and how badly we're playing them.
Yes, look after yourselves. Stay safe.
Stay safe, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.